Ladies and gentlemen, today is a truly astounding day for the channel. Today we're covering the very last legend for the Legend Analysis series in Brawlhalla. In just about a year and a half, we covered all of the legends. We went over the SIGs, skins, talked about them balance-wise. We've done it all. I sometimes look back at my old analysis videos and realize how much I've grown in video quality. My confidence rose as well, and it's helped me make other types of content too. For those of you who stuck around since the beginning, found me during the middle, found me from commentary, or just random stupid clips, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. It truly means a lot to me that you care about some random dude making random videos on the internet. With that being said, let's get right into the Thatch analysis. At first glance, he's your typical pirate legend, nothing too much off first glance. Maybe besides how incredibly ugly his face is. Hell, you might not even know much about him without looking at his lore. I mean, he's frickin' Poseidon. Not to mention Lin Fei with teaching him the Spirit Shark, also being Mako's father, which technically means he did what to the ocean? Moving on, Thatch is criminally underrated, despite his weapon combo. Maybe it's something about him balance-wise, which leads to why people don't like him. Let's start off with the SIGs as usual. Thatch's Blaster in SIG is a very solid SIG, although I really don't see it thrown out too much. It's a 2-part SIG, which I sort of see how that can throw people off, but the range is a tad bit limited. This SIG also used to go true with downlight, but it's still very doable since it's only one frame. Regardless, this is the way I utilize NSIG the most. Very useful one frame combo, but I'd say NSIG is just okay on its own. Side SIG is very similar to NSIG in how it acts, but the hitbox is much bigger and only hits once. This one I'd say is his worst Blaster SIG just because of how situational it feels sometimes. It also isn't very safe to use. Although NSIG is sort of the same way, NSIG still has its uses. In fact, everything about Side SIG is very similar to NSIG, but just a bit on the worst side. Blaster down SIG. Listen, we were all gold once. We've all encountered that one Thatch player who spammed only down SIG, especially in 2s. SIG spam aside, this SIG is really solid. Sure, it has an extremely long startup, but the 2 cannonballs are bound to hit something. Against experienced players, they'll go straight under it and punish you, but throwing 1 or 2 of them out with your enemy off stage can actually work sometimes. Sometimes the hitboxing is just insane. Probably his best Blaster SIG, surprisingly. Going on to Sword, we have some more bangers. Sword NSIG can be very surprising. It has the highest force for sure on Thatch's Sword game, although hitting it might be a bit tough. It isn't active for too long and hits in a fairly small area, even if it seems like it's really big. It does go a decent distance upwards, but I wouldn't say it's his greatest Sword SIG. Sword Side SIG is extremely solid on Thatch, and when I think of Thatch's Sword game, the first thing that comes to mind is the Side SIG. It has pretty good force, the most damage out of his Sword SIGs, and covers a pretty nice area. Slide charging it is pretty fun too, if you ask me. Also, downlight GC Side SIG is 2 frames, but also I don't really expect anyone to hit that. Maybe if your enemy is out of dodges, but even then, it's really jumpable. Honestly, Thatch's best Sword SIG though. Lastly, we have Sword down SIG, which honestly I can't find the greatest use for it. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say it's a bad SIG, but it feels peculiar in a way. It has the least force out of all the SIGs, and the damage is just average. I suppose it excels in its large hitboxes? Even then, they aren't that large. Down SIG is just one of those SIGs where you don't really move at all. You stay in one spot, or even move backwards a bit, and I think that's why it isn't all that great. Overall, Thatch has some really solid SIGs. Some lack a little bit, but some others more than make up for it. With very simple and solid weapons as well, going either way would work on Thatch. Going on to his skins, Thatch is actually our 3rd and final legend to get a design rework. Zol and Sentinel got one which changed them for the better. As for this Thatch one, it's very mixed, although it's grown onto me. The old design has much thicker lines and a more rough design to it. This one fits old Brawlhalla much more, while the new one has a more cartoony, fleshed out design, which fits current Brawlhalla much more. But seriously, what the fuck's going on with his mouth here? It's so goddamn big. Not all of his skins got changed. For example, Shark Attack Thatch, Goblin Thatch, and Classy Thatch remained the same because there really wasn't too much of a point in changing them since they're really unique. Overall, it's nicer, but it definitely took some getting used to, especially for some of the other parts of the Brawlhalla community. Enough stalling, let's look at the skins. God tier has Classy Thatch and Secret Santa Thatch. I'm a sucker for classy skins, you already know this, and it's the one skin on Thatch that makes him look semi-normal. As for Secret Santa, I just like the style, although who decided Thatch would make a good Santa? Pretty good tier has Poseidon Thatch, Biker Thatch, Castaway Thatch, and Default. All have pretty nice unique themes to them while keeping unique styles and surprisingly weapon skins too, especially Castaway. I included Default in here too, just because I think his default outfit is really memorable. It looks rather nice, actually. Mid-tier has only Shark Attack Thatch. The skin isn't bad. In fact, I actually like it. I just feel like it's slightly worse. Like, I'd rather run any skin in pretty good over this one. Not much else to say about it. Med-tier has Cursed Gold Thatch and Goblin Thatch. So, yes, these skins are unique, but I don't really like the whole thing going on with both of them. The deep sea look to cursed gold is nice, but kind of gross to me, and I don't like the goblin look all that much either. Maybe this one could have received a slight tweak to its design too. Then get out tier, we have Werewolf Thatch and Snake Eyes. This Thatch skin is just terrible, it's really bad. The tongue thing is weird and the weapons are absolutely terrible. As for Snake Eyes, the sig effects are hands down bad and the color swaps are even worse. The entirety of G.I. Joe was a huge flop crossover in my opinion. Honestly, I was thinking I would rate Thatch's skins much lower, but I actually like a decent chunk. I think people don't play him just because of his design, but that's sort of a stretch. Tier list wise, out of SA, B, C, and D, I would place Thatch in a low A tier spot, not really anywhere else. I don't see Thatch being in B tier whatsoever, although I don't see him in mid or high A tier with some of the other legends. So why is that? His SIGs are just mid, they don't go anywhere near as hard as some other legend SIGs. They aren't terrible, just lack in some areas. Both weapons he has are actually doing really good in the current meta, so maybe it's his stats? 7 attack, 5 dex, 3 defense, and 7 speed. A high attack speed demon he is. But this defense? 3 defense? 3? This is the sole reason why I think Thatch is not that great. Sure, he has the high attack for killing early, the high speed for zooming around like a lunatic, the mid dex, which is whatever, but the 3 defense absolutely kills him. I can imagine if he took a stat or 2 out of speed or even dex, he could be a really solid legend. Thatch doesn't catch me as a speedster. As for stances, all of them work besides dex. Defense takes out of speed, speed takes out of attack, attack takes out on dex, and dex takes out on defense. Damn, they kind of knew how terrible dex was and just gave people the benefit of the doubt here. Personally, I use the high attack so I don't lose out on any speed, plus 8 attack is absolutely killer. So that's my little add-on for why I think Thatch really isn't that great. With that being said, he's one of the lowest played legends in the game. He's definitely been bottom before, but it's gone up just a bit. Which is nice to see, but it's nearly not enough. At some points, you just kind of start to feel bad for him, being the lowest played throughout Brawlhalla's entire history. It dates all the way back to patch 2.38, and the roster was like cut in half at that point. So, what's the conclusion here? Thatch is a lunatic legend with great weapons, mid-sigs, and mid-stats, and also a terribly ugly face. Should that stop you from playing him? Honestly, no. I find Thatch to be pretty fun sometimes, considering how absolutely nasty some plays can be on him. Although, if you're looking to play Blasters or Sword, then I agree that there's much better legends. But if you want to spice things up, Thatch is your guy. Thanks for watching this legend analysis, and it's been a great ride. Forever onward, keep on brawling.